Hi, this is Sue Skavlem, and I am with Skavlem Designs as a solopreneur. I've been doing design for close to 25 years now. It's kind of crazy, but I really enjoy that part of my life. But it's not the only thing that defines me. I also have a love of teaching other people how to do um, what I do in a scaled down version. Not saying that you can't pick up a pen and become an artist tomorrow if you want to. It just takes a long time, and not everybody has that much time. But they might be able to sit down and have a one-on-one or be in a class and figure out how to write to their audience or how to define their audience or how to do a content calendar so they don't have to take 4 hours to do their social media every week. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Even if it's your job, you don't want that. um, but that being said, I wanted to share the transition from my personal experience of going from a solopreneur to starting something new. If you're an entrepreneur or if you've ever started your own business, um, it's like getting a tattoo. Like you get one and then you're like, well, now I have to get 500. Most entrepreneurs that I have met don't just have one idea, they have multitudes. So the hardest part is to stick with one thing long enough to have it become something. Um, but in doing so, I love my own business, absolutely, but it's not all of what I want to do. But all of what I want to do, I can't do alone. And that was a hard thing to come to grips with, but it was also an exciting thing to come to grips with. So 20 years in, I was like, I'd really like to start something with somebody. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it looks like, but it was something that was in my heart. And like I said, I love teaching and I love seeing the light go on in somebody's eyes where they're like, oh, I can do that step or I can do this part of my business or marketing that I never knew I could do before. Enter Tammy Brown. We started meeting and having coffee once a week because every time I met with her, my soul and my spirit just felt uplifted. And if that's not the best reason to choose a marketing or a business partner with, I don't know what is. We decided to trade an impossible task with each other. And if you have heard of the Impossible Task Squad, which we are also working on, um, it's basically I have something that I'm working on that I'm stuck on, kind of like writer's block, but for my career. And she had something that she was working on, but stuck on like writer's block for her business. And so we traded tasks and she was like, oh, yours is easy. And I was like, oh, yours is easy. I didn't know you could trade. From that moment, I knew that working with her, as well as being her friend, was something that I wanted to do. And we started talking and throwing around ideas. And out of that came our business plan. Now, I realize that's not necessarily something that works for everyone. Somebody might have a full business plan and then interview people to be their co-founder. And so then you end up with like a different approach of how do I transition from being just me to having somebody on board. If that's the case, if you've come up with your entire plan and you have somebody come on board, whether it's for an organization, a cause, or a startup, it's hard to let go of control because it's your baby. Like you came up with it, it was in your heart. Whereas this was part me and part her. We both had our ideas, we both had concepts. And there are three things that transitioning from a solopreneur to a partnership, a good partnership, can bring. And those three things are energy, sharing, and incorporating work and play. So, energy. I like to say this as use the force, Luke, but it's that whole idea that when you are in a partnership for a business, and when you're transitioning from a solopreneur to a co-creator or co-startup partnership, you're not alone anymore. And it's hard to get used to because you're used to flying solo. And you might be really good at targeting. You might be really good at flying. You might think that you can, let the target go or the missile go and hit the target and the Death Star will explode all by yourself. But it's so much better with the other person's energy. Use the force. You're not alone. You can just have coffee with that person and bounce ideas off of each other, whiteboard it. You can, one of my favorite ways that, so girls like to look at each other and have that, eye contact and be like, what do you think about this? And, guys, that can be a little bit more stressful or antagonistic if it's like, straight on looking at each other. So if you have a guy partner, or if you're a guy and you have another partner that's also a guy, you might want to consider doing a side-by-side thing. So maybe whiteboarding where you each have your own section of whiteboard, and then you can draw lines to see which ideas connect together. That might work wonderful for you. If you have ADHD, you can also do those parallel ideas as well. And again, the reason why that works so well is you're still coming up with ideas together in the same space and sharing that same energy. Another thing that you can do is and this will go into the work and play, you can bounce a ball back and forth to each other. And when you have the ball, you share your idea and then throw it to them. Or vice versa. If it's two antagonistic facing each other, you can face a similar goal. So, face a net and aim the ball toward the net and share your idea, and vice versa. Like the next person, aim the ball, share their idea, throw the ball. These are just some ways that you can be on the same page or get in sync with your partner when you're brainstorming not only your mission statement or your vision statement or your new products or how you want your company to feel or how you want your clients to be welcomed. Do you want something that is, efficient when you walk in the door, from A to Z, everything is laid out so efficiently that this is the type of company that you're working with? Do you want it to be warm and welcoming and hospitable? Those are two very different feels for how you attract the type of client that you're looking for. And so these are just some things that you can be brainstorming with your co-founder. And what's really interesting is when you think about it by yourself, you can often run into a dead end or a wall because you know how you would feel and what you would like, but you don't know what your client would like. And when you have somebody else to bounce ideas off of, even if that person is similar to you, they're going to have a slightly different experience. They're going to have a slightly different idea, a slightly different energy, and your two energies combining will have the effect of broadening your basically idea well. And so new ideas are going to be able to come through and you'll be able to target and, blow up that Death Star, save the universe. Another great idea, and you can think of this as a mini podcast, but you can ask each other questions about your business, about the business plan. Ask each other questions about if you were a client or as if you were the bank. Why should we give you money? Or why should we go with your business? Why should we give to your cause? What do you hope to achieve with this? How are you going about it? What makes you different? What makes me want to be a part of either your team or your cause or your organization? Ask each other questions and then record it while you're doing it. Record the other person's answers as if you were on a podcast. Even if you never use that in the future, sometimes going back in a few years and replaying it will help you go, oh, wow, we've done all that. And it's a wonderful baseline to measure yourself on. But conversely, you might get some gold snippets where you can be like, oh, remember when you said that, and then you can go back and play it and hear all of the words, and maybe that's the key phrase is hidden in there that you need to either, create that presentation or create that flyer that you're going to be giving out to your potential donors or your potential investors or your potential clients. So energy, that's the first thing. Sharing is the next. This is really exciting. And again, energy and sharing kind of overlap, but sharing is both the good and the bad. So you're going to share the credit, you're going to share the wins, you're going to share the responsibilities, and you're going to share the risks. So responsibilities can be both good and bad, because if you're a solopreneur, you're used to the control. You're used to if you want to get it done right, you've got to do it yourself. And it's giving up some of that control for that shared responsibility and that shared win, but also giving up some of that control for the shared risk. Most likely you will both be investing time, energy, and maybe some finances into this venture, whether it's a cause or a startup. And that's scary to do by yourself, but it is less risk when you do it with a partner. It's also interesting that you can get a lot more confidence and a lot more clout when you go in to ask people either for investing, or if you ask people for donations, or you ask people for a Kickstarter type seed money, whatever you were looking for to start up with your capital or your investors. It helps when you have more than one person, because usually there's somebody who's good with people and somebody who's good with numbers. Or if you're both great with people, wonderful. But they'll be able to see your body language, how you treat each other, and how you are approaching this business. Now, if you go back to the energy exercises, the one where you ask questions and record it, this is perfect for that, because when you're sharing the wins, you're sharing the responsibilities, you're sharing the risks, and you're sharing with the people that you want to invest in you. You're so used to sharing with somebody else already that you're not holding this super close. This is not just your baby anymore. It belongs to both of you, and you're more used to letting go of some of the control. And anytime you get an investor or a donator, wherever the money is, there's a little bit of accountability and a little bit of what am I getting out of this? And so you're already used to just a little bit letting go of some of the control, and also sharing what people can get out of it, because you're sharing it already with your partner. So that helps quite a bit. Also, the last thing under share is share the expectations. One of the inevitable parts of any relationship is if we don't meet other people's expectations, they can get frustrated with us, and vice versa. If somebody's not meeting our expectations, especially in a culture that it values stoicism. So, I'm not going to say anything. It's not a big deal. And then all of a sudden you're just really mad about all these little things. You can avoid that so easily by sharing your expectations. And even if it's an unrealistic expectation, like, hey, why aren't we making money? It's month 3. At least talking about it out loud, or sometimes writing it down is good. It's better to write things down in advance and say, these are my expectations, writing it down, versus these were my expectations that you didn't meet. If somebody didn't meet an expectation, talk about it to them face to face. If somebody, if you are planning and you've got expectations written down, that's also wonderful, because then you can reference those. But it's also really good to write down your expectations and to talk about them beforehand, so that somebody can come along and say, okay, I see you and I hear you, and these are great expectations. We might want to, put the timeline out a year or 5 years for some of these. You were a visionary, and we have some extra steps to get along the way. We can We can get there, but it's going to take some time. That is especially helpful for somebody like me who sees something and immediately goes, this is how I want it to look. I can see it in my mind. This is how I want it to feel. These are the type of people that I would like to attract. And instead of giving up, I have somebody to say, because it didn't happen the first 3 months, I have somebody to say, this takes time. This takes 5 years. It takes 5 years at least before you make enough money to support more than the business, to give back into the business. The business is going to be something that supports itself for hopefully, or after a couple of years, it supports itself. And after year 5, it should be supporting at least you and your founder. Okay, so that's the energy, that's the sharing. And the last part, ending it on a fun note, is the work and play. You get to decide not only how you make your clients feel when they walk into your business, if you have a brick and mortar store or a brick and mortar place of business, or you get to decide how your clients feel when they see you online. Are you the type of person who's running their business off of TikTok? Are you the type of person who's running their business off of Facebook groups, or just email marketing, or just a website? How a person feels when they come to your website or they come to your social media directly affects the type of people that you're going to attract. But it's more than that. You get to create a culture starting with just you and your partner. When it is just you as a solopreneur, you might work really long hours or on the weekends or every spare moment that you possibly can. But what does that look like when you have a partner? Do you set a goal of ending at a certain time every day? Do you make sure that you take time off with your family? Do you make sure that you take time to celebrate the wins? Because you're going to have some hard things and you're going to have some wins along the way. And creating a culture of celebration is probably the best thing that you can do to invest in the future and the strength of your company or your organization. As my dad always said, work hard and play hard. Budget meals out together, schedule activities to boost the other person's spirit. And those things do not have to be money. They might just be time. And most likely, if you're starting something, even if it's with somebody else, your time is probably your most valuable asset. So if you schedule time to, if you're a guy, play side by side, or if you're a girl, go on a walk. And yes, those are gender stereotypes, so forgive me if it's over generalizing. But it is helpful to know that some of those things can affect, if you're not aware, can affect your business relationships. And so just talk, just communicate, write down your expectations, write down thank you notes, write down your next scheduled meeting so you don't forget, and don't forget to play. All right, those are the 3 things. I hope you guys are going to enjoy transitioning from being a solopreneur to having a partner. It's a wonderful journey.